Hello and welcome to this, the first of our series, 10-week series, in which we're going to look at how to improve our writing and really move from good writing to outstanding writing. How are we going to do that, I hear you ask? Well, listen carefully and follow these techniques and you will find, if you do the exercises and you do how I tell you, then you will start to become an outstanding writer who can move your readers to action and excite and engage the people who are reading your texts. So, without further ado, let's check on what we looked at in the last lesson. In the last lesson together, our first lesson face to face, we looked at how to improve our stories and really make our stories outstanding. And the ways in which we did that were by actually introducing the 3 S's. Now, what were the 3 S's? Let's have a look. First S. If you said set up, then you'd be right. Because the first S on our list is set up. So you need to set up the story for your reader. You need to give a context and set up the characters for your reader. Now, a lot of mistakes that many people make is they spend far too long on actually setting up the story and giving the characters, and they don't introduce what we actually agreed was your second point, your second S, and in fact one of the most important things you can include in your stories, and something which will engage your reader. What is it? Can you tell me? If you said struggle, then you'd be right, because struggle is what makes people interested. It's what excites people, it's what interests and really engages your reader. So, struggle is the second on our list, and rightly so, because everybody loves a struggle. It's what entertains the reader and what actually makes the reader want to find out what happens next. So this struggle could be man against man, or woman of course, or man against nature, or man against society. So, man against nature, he could be struggling in the wilderness of the jungle, or in the cold of the Antarctic. Man or woman in a situation against nature in which he has to struggle. We want to find out more about what happens next. Man against society. He's struggling against or she is struggling against the prejudices in society, be it racism, be it problems with the place of women. It could be any struggle in society. And then of course man with himself. He's struggling, or woman, with her own problems, her own issues, and that can actually make some of the most interesting writing as well. So struggle is, rightly so, one of the most important things that you can do to really include your reader and make them interested. Okay, let's look at the third S, which is still important. What do you have after a struggle? Well, of course, you've got to have a You're going to say solution? Yes, you're right. Because solution makes the reader feel that what they've read has a meaning. You can't just finish your story with just the struggle going on, because the reader worries. They want to know how it ends. So you need to give a short time at the end of the story to solve all the problems. Otherwise the reader's just going to be asking more questions and thinking, oh, I don't quite understand what I've just read. So solution is really important for giving your writing that edge and that concluding element, that thought, that feeling, that solving the problems that you've encountered, the reader has encountered in the story. It is essential. So let's look a bit further at how the techniques that we looked at together, in which we were really kind of looking at the tools some of the tools which are going to really help you to make your writing better. Now, I actually had a list here which actually spelled out forest. A forest. So this is to make it easier for you to remember. A forest. So all you have to do is think of some trees, and that will help you to remember these. The first on our list was the lazy lion luxuriously lounged on the luscious land. That would be, yes, you've got it. It would be alliteration, and that's the first of our A forest system. We need to include some alliteration in our stories, because this can actually make our reader more interested. It's a playfulness of language which the reader really loves. They enjoy saying the words in their mouths as they read, and hearing whether it be L's or S's or T's, and this can be used to reflect what is happening in the writing as well. So alliteration is important. It is a useful tool. Don't overuse it, of course, but it is a useful tool. The next one on our list, F. This is a really important a technique which we can use, which can really add to our stories. Let's have a look. It's fact. It's just including facts. So, as we mentioned in the lesson, when the car, do you remember the car that we looked at? The car, and we told the story of a picture of a car, a battered car. We had loads of words to describe it. Glistening, barren, curious, nomadic. And we're going to talk about that in a moment. But the car, to tell the story of the car, we need to include facts and figures. Because facts and figures really give a picture for your reader. They really help your reader to actually have a mind's image of what's the description you're making, and that's really important. So when you're traveling in the car, you don't travel at quite fast. You travel at exactly 62 miles an hour. You're not just a bit out of town. You are precisely 20 kilometers out of town. Do you see? This gives a real image of where you are and where the writing is taking you. So it really helps to make you, the reader, interested in what the writer is saying. So facts and figures. If you're in the desert, it's precisely 92 degrees. If you're in the wilderness of the Antarctic, it's minus 32 degrees Fahrenheit. And you're worried as well. This might cause worries. But, of course, facts and figures. And they really give a fantastic detail to your story. Let's look at this next one. Opinions. The reader wants to know what you think. It comes back to what we were mentioning about solution. At the end of the story, it's good to include a thought, and your opinions can be made all the way through. Your opinions, the character's opinions, what the person's thinking. So whether the person doesn't like maybe they don't like talking to people. The character might be quite shy. Or the character might be very gregarious. What's gregarious mean? It means to talk. He likes to enjoys company. Or the character might not like lending people money. Or they might be very generous. Or they might believe that that people should hold doors open for them. Perhaps they're a gentleman. So these are all opinions. Opinions are really important, and they help you to really kind of get a picture of what this person who you're reading about is. Opinions are really important. Okay, next one. The next one is a rhetorical question. So when you actually are writing a story, try and include a question. Have you ever felt this? Have you ever experienced this? What would you do in this situation? It doesn't require an answer. It's not that you're asking for an answer. It's that you're engaging the reader and you're making them feel involved in the story. It's including a conversation to the story. So rhetorical questions are really important, and that is our next one on our list, rhetorical questions. Now, after rhetorical questions, we have emotive language. And I'm going to come back to the description that we made of our car. If you remember, the car, we used words like glistening, curious, fumes, haunting, noiseless, spectacular, towering. These are all words which we used, emotive words. What do I mean by emotive? They include an emotion. They make you feel interested because they make you feel something. So emotive language is really important, as well as adjectives, which is what I've just spoken about with luxurious, parched, spectacular, towering, these words. You can use adverbs as well. So how did someone do something? Perhaps he turned the car angrily, and that's what caused the crash. Maybe. So adverbs as well, and adverbs usually end with ly. So this can be a useful... That's my timer telling me that we need to stop soon. So I'm going to just really speed through and not take any more of our time. So let's have a look. The next one, superlatives. Superlatives are, we never say that something was grey. Grey is boring. We need to say that something was black or white. And that's what gives the interest. So, for instance, in our Antarctic, we don't say, oh, it was quite a mild day. No, we say it was freezing. The snow was falling heavily overhead. The wind was whistling violently. I felt the cold bitterly. So it's really superlative language. We need to really make the reader feel that we're going through an extreme situation. And this comes back to what we mentioned earlier. Yes, you've got it. Struggle. So emotive language and superlatives can really add to our feeling of struggle. Finally, threes. Americans love threes. The French loved threes. Let's have a look at some of the threes that we've come across. The car might be fast, fuel efficient, and comfortable. This might have been the car before it crashed. Then after the crash, it was haunting, horrifying, and well, barren, perhaps. So these threes are a really good way to make the reader remember what you're saying. Everybody loves threes. The Americans use threes in there. The founding fathers of the American state used threes because they said life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The French said liberté, égalité, fraternité. And these threes moved people to action. So threes are a wonderful way to make your reader engaged and make them really respond to your writing. Finally, we've got metaphors and similes. A metaphor, something is something. So the man running towards the forest was a lion. He was a lion. That's a metaphor. And a simile is like or as. So he ran like a lion or like a cheetah towards the forest. These are all the terms which I want you to include in your next stories. So let's finish off then. Let's go over what we've done. We've looked at the setup, the struggle, and the solution, and all of these we want to include in our writing. Then we look to the tools. How do we bring out the struggle and the interest in our writing? And then obviously the solution as well. We've got a forest, so we think of trees. It's alliteration, facts and figures, opinions, rhetorical questions, emotive language, superlatives, threes, metaphors as well, and similes. So for you, your homework now will be to send me an email, a short email, with a version of your story, including as many of these tools as possible. Okay, I look forward to receiving that. We're going to stop the video now, and I want to see you writing a short email including these tools in your story. Thank you.